Hey everybody, today we are talking about The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. Before we start, I just wanted to say that if you are using Fable, you should add me because I just recently started using Fable and I don't have a lot of friends that are using it currently, and I just like it better than Goodreads because of just the way that it works. There's streaks that you can have for every single day that you read, and what I really like about their streaks is if you forget to input your reading time for a day, you don't lose your streak. If I really did read but it's past midnight and I forgot to put it on the app, I can go in the next day and edit the streaks log and put it in because, oh, I did read yesterday, I just got busy and I didn't have time to put it on the app before the day was through. So you can have an accurate streaks log, unlike some other apps that once it's midnight, your streak's gone. Too bad, so sad. So I really like that. I really like that you can have an overview of the whole calendar month of what books you read on what specific day. I really like how the feed looks and the way that you can also be a part of clubs if you want to, and you can have ebooks on there that you can read. I just really like it and prefer it over Goodreads. And the good thing is that you can just import your Goodreads information right onto the app right when you download it. And so you don't lose any of your past finished books, any of your lists that you've created, they transfer over. So why not transfer over? I just love the look of Fable so much better. It just seems like there's just so many more stats and ways of tracking your stats, and I just prefer it. So if you haven't tried out Fable, you should totally try it out, and then let's be friends. No, this is not sponsored. I just genuinely like Fable and wanted to talk to you guys about it and get more followers and follow more people. So add me there. I'll have my link to my profile on my channel in the post section and also in the description of this if you want to directly add me, and then I can just add you right back. Nice and easy. Okay, let's get to the video. This book is a young adult fantasy with our main character as a 16-year-old girl named Mina. The book wastes no time getting into the action. We start off with a stormy day and a boat with June and Shim Chung on it to basically go out into the middle of the sea and sacrifice this young woman, Shim Chung, into the water to the sea god so that she can become the sea god's bride. And our main character, Mina, she cares for her brother June deeply, and June broke the rules. He's not supposed to be on the boat when the sacrifice happens, and so she goes to try and basically rescue him and take him back home. And then what ends up happening is at the last second, Shim Chung decides it's not her fate to be the sea god's bride and turns away instead of jumping into the water. And the second that she does that, Mina realizes that she is going to be the one to be the sea god's bride, that she's going to take her place and jump in there to save her brother and Shim Chung and the village from any bad storms in the future or anything like that that could be bad for them. This story, I believe, is based off of Korean mythology. I don't know too much about it, but it is based on the tale of Shim Chung and the sea god. And in this story, it is branched out to where we have a lot of different gods that are under the sea, not just the sea god, but there's also the god of death. There's also the goddess of the moon. There's also the goddess of memory. Actually, I think it's the goddess of moon and memory. And then we also have a goddess of mother and children. And yeah, so there's a lot of gods and goddesses in the story. One of the main things that happens in this story is that Mina goes down and is greeted by these three men, and one of them, Shin, it gets very involved with her, and it all has to do with her soul. So Shin removes her soul in the form of placing it in a magpie. And so this is the only way that they believe that they can protect the sea god, who's basically been in like a slumber for a century. The myth is that if the sea god finds his true bride, that the curse can be lifted and that there will be no more storms up above in the regular world. It will be the famine and all the bad things going on because of the storms, all of that will go away. The sea god will stop causing all these storms to happen that is ruining the village's like ability to live in this area. And so they pray and they sacrifice once a year someone who that they believe that their fate is to be the sea god's bride. But every year there's still storms, and so they just assume they haven't found the right bride yet. And so Mina is hoping that, like, she knows she wasn't supposed to be the original bride, but she's deciding that she's going to choose her own fate and that she's going to be the sea god's bride and she's going to bring peace to her family and her village up above. And so that is basically what the story is. Shin removes her soul, says that she has 30 days to get it back, otherwise she'll basically turn into a spirit and she'll be in the spirit world. And the soul being separated was just to keep her basically from hurting the sea god, and Shin was just trying to protect the sea god. That's his job. And a lot of things happen in this. A lot of characters are introduced that are there to help support Mina, and also there are sea snakes and just danger that is all around her as well. And she has to somehow break this curse, and she has to learn more about this curse. And the problem is the sea god and Shin both have kind of lost their memories over time, that they don't really remember a lot of things on how this curse even came to be. So it makes it even more complicated for Mina to be able to break this curse if nobody even really remembers, aside from the myth of just a bride is gonna fix everything. And it hasn't worked for 100 years, and so people up top are probably starting to lose hope, and Mina is she's just very determined. She's a very strong character, and even at her weak moments, she finds strength in friends, in family, in her memories, in knowing that she has people up above still rooting, in her world, that are rooting for the sea god to bring peace, and that Mina's the one that's going to do it now. The way that they play into fate is really interesting too. I like that it has to do with a red string. You can see the string here. The red string of fate, it ties you to the person that you're supposed to be fated for, and it's usually visible by everyone, but in this case she gets her string of fate is connected to somebody, and it is invisible to anyone except her and this person. And I just think it was really interesting how the author Axio used the idea of this string to be connecting you with somebody, and if it fades or disappears, then your fate is changed, or your fate has been broken from that person, or just like the different ways that you can interpret how this string can represent fate. I liked how it was used. I think that this was a really good story. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. Sometimes I feel like with YA, for me, now that I feel like I don't really fit that category anymore, that reader bubble is not really my bubble anymore, but I still have a few YA books that I have bought that I haven't read yet, and this was one of them, and I always intended to read it, and I finally did. And this definitely it did not bother me as some of the other YAs that I have reviewed on this channel, that I felt like maybe I really just am not this audience anymore. It was either too cheesy or too like predictable, or maybe some of it was too unrealistic. This, when you already know that you're in a fantasy world, you don't have to worry too much about realistic stuff. This book doesn't have a lot of the cheesiness that would come from like a high school crush, kind of a romance YA that I feel like was making me feel like I wasn't part of this audience anymore. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that cheesiness or the unrealisticness of relationships or anything. I think it does a really good job with that. And so I think that's probably another reason why I enjoyed this book more. So if you enjoy the idea of a book that happens in a sea spirit world and with a sea god and lots of different gods and goddesses and fate being a big thing, and trying, having a female strong character as your main character, then I think you're really gonna like this. I really quite enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read it and let me know what you think about it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.